Hello, everyone. Sable here, again covering week 3 of UUCL. This is our third match this week. We've got Melbelle versus Phil. And as usual, I don't really have much of a preamble to these UUCL ones, so let's just hop right into it and see what happens. Dragonite lead, so it's another Dragonite this week versus Kang. I'd say Kang probably advantaged, especially if it has Blizzard, but she's got a pivot here with Haunter. Body Slam, kind of a mid-ground in case the Dragonite doesn't want to stay in. And risk a Blizzard, although Blizzard only does like 44 to 52 to it. Kang's special is horrendous. But I think this is a good combination of Pokemon. No one's going to Earthquake on a Dragonite expecting Haunter to come in. And hits the Hypnosis. So both of these Pokemon looking like a little bit of a problem with Blizzards flying around. Obviously, Haunter can tank 2 of them before going down. It takes like 40-something% usually from Lapras. But I wonder what she's going to have to cover for that. Back to the Dragonite immediately, and Hypno comes in. So nice switch from Mel. Dragonite definitely a better matchup in front of the Hypno. Looking T-Wave first, not Body Slam here. So looking for Para more than damage, and gets the Hypno Miss. So now just going to slam it until it hits, which is on the next one. So about average luck with that Hypnosis. Psychic coming after that, interesting play. I'm really wondering why not T-Wave? I guess expecting a Doug Trio or a Golem. I haven't really been paying attention to what people have been bringing the first couple weeks and like refreshing myself before recording these. So maybe Phil scouted like a lot of Doug, a lot of Golem, which would also like make the para on Hypno make sense if you have a Golem or something. But they're just going to trade tosses, so neither one really seeing Hypno as essential, or I guess in Mel's case, it just has Rest. Rest Hypno plus Haunter, kind of a nice combo because you can use Haunter to pivot out of the physical threats that would come in to threaten the Hypno out. But Phil just going to keep tossing it, which I think is probably wrong. Or at least it's wrong if she keeps doing it. Like, you definitely go to a physical attacker right now. Oh, right, there was Parad, so they're the same speed. So Phil actually going for the 50-50. A little bit less than 50-50. It's like 37% to actually win it because you also can full para. But she gets it this time, so it works out in her favor as she actually gets the Hypno first. And now she's going to probably sack her Hypno and get the pivot advantage. Earthquake from Mel covering for a potential Haunter switch. I think that's a pretty fair play. And right to the Haunter, planning to get some value out of it early. And also, just in case of, I guess in case of crits, you probably want to go to this first because at least then you can boom or something. Going for Psychic first, so just trying to cover for like potential ground switches as well as maybe get a drop on Lapras could matter, but no drop. Takes another Blizz. I think you probably just boom here to cover switches. Yep. Does about as much as a T-Bolt, and you cover for the potential of a switch in that resists Psychic or resists T-Bolt. Hyper Beam miss, unlucky, Blizzard miss, never mind, it evens out. And Body Slamming this time, expecting Phil to switch out of this one. And Blizzard hits, so punished for the mid-ground. So Mal a little bit behind here for sure, but not by too much. Raichu will not Oko this from here, so this is a bit of an interesting send-in. Thanks to oh, it did. Yeah, that was a max roll pretty much. So that was risky. That's pretty lucky because that usually would not have taken out the Kang. Persian gonna 2-hit KO this, but it's probably gonna take Para and a T-Bolt in return. If this T-Bolt crits, that's really awful. If not, this is still probably playable. Never mind, or that. Yeah, this looks pretty over for Mel. I think she just loses this game 1. Unless her last can somehow sweep here, which, oof. But to be fair, Hypno and Lapras are down, so the bulky stuff is out. So if she's got a Kadabra or a Doug Trio or something, but it's just a Lapras, which makes sense. Lapras could win, though, especially not being paralyzed. Takes out the Raichu. If it hits a Sing on the first try, maybe it can win. But, ooh, Victory Bell. Never mind, yeah, you're losing. Unless, actually, Dragonite can wake up. Oh, maybe you don't Razor Leaf. Maybe you need to double. And she doubles back to Lapras, calling it this is going to be a switch out. Persian should still win this. Like, it's very hard for Persian to lose this, but if she gets the Sing, or a crit, or a freeze, none of the above. D-Knight could win this, but it would have to wake up right away. If it even waits one turn to wake, I think this is over. Stays asleep, yeah, so Phil's gonna win this one, barring some extreme RNG. And no wake, and Persian will finish up. So looking at these teams, one thing I notice actually is Phil's team is insanely weak to Haunter. Raichu doesn't do very much damage to it, although it is faster. Victory Bell literally cannot touch it except for Razor Leafing it for like 15%. Persian can't touch it except for T-Bolting it for like 18%. So all these three, Haunter problem. Kang, obviously slower than Haunter, and these two slower than Haunter. So she's pretty lucky that Mel sent the Haunter early to attack the Lapras and made a missed call out. If that Haunter had stayed on the field and like been saved for a while, like if she had just kept attacking, then Phil would have just lost. Obviously hard to know what someone has in back. Like these were the last three Pokemon revealed. So pretty hard to know that you need to save that Haunter, but Haunter would have 6-0'd this team, so good sequencing from Phil to not reveal it with stuff that would have gotten owned by it, and just trade down the Lapras for it. Yeah, and on Mel's side, these two kind of your lead core here. You just use one or the other depending on what shows up against you in the lead. Obvious Hypno and Lapras, pretty typical mainstays, and then a lot of physical offense from these two without much in the way of weaknesses on these guys. So pretty standard team, but just didn't work out against Phil's team here. So let's hop right into game number 2. We're going to see a Hypno lead, uncommon, and a Venomoth lead. So Mel definitely on the winning end of this, unless you just miss Sleep Powder, which, yeah, Hypno should definitely T-Wave that because now you have good odds. One more try for Venomoth at 55% accuracy, but does land it, so this doesn't end up that bad, although you do wish the Venomoth was unparalyzed and could actually apply some Stun Spore pressure. Ultimately, removing a Hypno from the game, pretty good. And hard Lapras and a Dodrio is dire. So we know no Golem, we know nothing like that, but that crit, huge. Now you just sack the Venomoth for positioning, and Moltres comes out. So Molt looking pretty scary, unless Mel has like a Slowbro or something of the like. Guess we'll see in a minute. That Lapras chip is going to be essential. Dragonite coming in, that's a good Molt check. And Nidoking coming in on a presumed T-Wave. Nidoking, notable for its specific combination of electric type immunity plus having all the coverage in the world, so it threatens Dragonite with faster Blizzard. Notably, the only other faster ground type than Dragonite, Dugtrio, has a horrible matchup into it, so Nidoking actually kind of a cool bring here. Based on what Mel is showing, not really no good Nidoking switch-ins, but the Nidoking does have to make predictions. If you don't Blizzard this and it just hits you with a Blizzard, Nidoking is weak to everything, so you'll take over 50 from that, and that'll suck. If you Blizzard into a Lapras, that sucks because Lapras obviously OHKOs. Going to Kang, which Kang doesn't take this super well, but it is faster than Nidoking at least, so now you just get to click some slams, get some damage. Big crit. That's going to be really big. But that Hyper Beam miss, just as big. And this is a speed tie, so notably actually going second here kind of beneficial in, or going first there, really beneficial in that the burn chip didn't apply, and it wasn't obviously like a Hyper Beam with burn into Moltres, which would have just let it set up. So Moltres getting the advantage right there, and Dodrio threatening a Hyper Beam OHKO. Removes the Moltres. Nidoking, not a really good answer to Dodrio. Pretty frail. So Persian coming in, and this is probably where D-Knight gets used. But no, just taking the hit. And that Thunderbolt rolling really high. That was a maximum roll. Thunderbolt actually usually doesn't 2-hit KO Dodrio, so Mel getting the unlucky end of this one. But the lucky end of that one, min roll, max roll. So now surely she agility'd? Yeah, so very bipolar luck on that turn, on those two turns. Thunderbolt max roll into minimum roll but para. So now this Dodrio is, if it doesn't para, it's going to do a lot of damage. It's probably just going to hit the Nidoking with a Hyper Beam. Or there's a Raichu. So this could be Agility Raichu looking to set up on it. Nope, just takes 85 on the Raichu. I think maybe you should have considered taking that on the Nidoking instead. But I guess using this for positioning by paralyzing the Dragonite, but it's Agility Knight. Oh, that's so bad for Phil. We'll bring. And now I think you kind of just have to go Lapras. I think it had to be Lapras at 48%. Take your KO, preserve the Nidoking, hope it crits through stuff, but it's not even going to 1v1 this Dragonite, so you kind of can't do this. Yeah, now Mal is pretty much guaranteed to win as long as she has anything faster than Lapras. Yep, no T-Bolt on this, but Hyper Beam does comparable damage if you're planning to sack this, which if you're clicking Agility Knight, you probably aren't planning for it to stay around. And Hypno faster than Lapras. Last two here, maybe Lapras Hypno. So there is a chance that Phil could wake up and then just sweep through this with luck, but who knows? Instant Wake. Okay, so Instant Hypnosis, win tie would win, potentially. Nope. Accidentally clicked skip turn there, but I think we all figured out what was going on in that turn. So now Hypno hits it, and Mel not wanting to switch into this, just trying to wake up. This could go really wrong. If the last is a Lapras and the Hypno hits it right away, that could actually be the end of the game. But she's trusting in her wake odds, and if she wakes up, she pretty much instantly wins. So now Lapras on a Seismic Toss, and she should win this. Like, even a Psychic Drop wouldn't do it, right? So you have to T-Wave, and then you have to get Psychic Drops and Paras. Like, you need the drops to kill this fast enough. Yep. And there's the game. So I want to check something. Yeah, Phil took game 1, Mel took game 2. And I'm just checking the teams really quick, seeing if there's any reused ideas. But no, these are pretty different, except that Phil brought Persian twice. And obviously the Lapras and Hypno keep showing up, but no like consistent samey ideas between these. So let's go to game 3. Clefable this time versus Clefable. That's funny. I wonder if one will click Sing or if they're both just going to T-Wave and attack. T-Waves from both. Psychic from Mel looking for a drop or to cover a Haunter, but Haunter probably wouldn't come in after a T-Wave because it doesn't really do anything to Clef outright. So I think she's just looking for drops. And another one, no drop. So Phil definitely getting the advantage here. I don't know if I support clicking the Psychics into Clefable. The damage difference is noticeable, but I think with that one tie right there, she should have enough damage to finish this off. Kangaskhan has to Hyper Beam to KO this, which is a little scary, but also things don't like switching into Hyper Beam unless you have a Haunter or a Rock type, so takes it. Probably no Haunter or Rock type. Hypno comes in, so just gonna go for the Hypnosis. I don't think I like that, like odds-wise, but here it pays off with a first turn hit and no Paraslam. And Psychic King right away, not going for T-Wave or anything. Surely you do now. And both T-Waving, so Mel doesn't want to sleep this or doesn't have it. Seismic. So Phil continuing to Psychic makes me think this might be Rest, which if it is, we'll see shortly. And Mel's is Rest, despite having Seismic Toss, so might be Psychic-less or might be Hypnosis-less. But they're both Rest. Okay, so we might be here for a minute. Mel definitely has the advantage with having Seismic Toss compared to this Hypno. And a Victory Bell, good switch on the last turn to threaten sleep, but again she misses a Sleep Powder. Phil just Psychicking, so not T-Waving obviously wouldn't be faster after the T-Wave, but it would help the team. So choosing damage and going to Dodrio, I guess that makes sense. Ooh, sub, so that's going to force a Stun Spore attempt here, or a chance for a Stun Spore, same thing. Gets it, Dodrio's probably just going to Agility up, but this does neuter it. And there's the first para, so this Dodrio is going to be in range of like everything, even if it does get Agility set up, unless you get a 256 non-crit Razor Leaf. Phil not setting up, I guess wanting to preserve this in the face of Lapras coming in and not just take the free Hyper Beam. But if you're going to sack it, why didn't you Agility? I think that she needed to Agility that. I think that's a big mistake. And Haunter, just gonna T-Bolt, obviously. You can't really Hypnosis here. And now gonna pivot on this. Ooh, getting a Psychic. That's really good for Mel. Like, this is kind of just... Oh. Oh, no. Very confused by that. The Kangaskhan is already put to sleep. I think Phil forgot and got really punished for forgetting. So that's on her, honestly. Punished for C-Ray and for forgetting that Sleep Clause was active. And this is dire now that the Dodrio in. There's like not really any way to get around this except for critting it out and dodging a Paraslam slash Hyper Beam max roll. And never mind. This is just over, I think. I think Mel has won this one. Slowbro might have something to say about that, but I think you have to T-Wave this, dodge Para, and get set up. No, that's not going to do it. Lapras is easily going to take this out. Yeah, like even if you Para it and set up Amnesia, you need so much to go your way to be able to win from here. And it might not even have Amnesia if it's running Seismic Toss. Probably doesn't. Yeah. It's Psytoss. That's gonna get owned here, and Lapras. So the only thing left for Mel to do to win, which doesn't matter because of the forfeit, would have been landing sleep on this Hypno or just pressuring it enough to get the... Actually, I guess she just stalls it with Hypno because she's already got Sleep Clause active. Yeah, she could have stalled this out and won. But Phil loses, Mel wins. Good job, Mel. Congrats on the win. Team-wise, I think her team's interesting. There's like a decent amount of sleep redundancy, so you don't need it on Hypno. I think Vic plus Lap probably both have sleep here, and Clefable probably doesn't based on what it clicked. A lot of normal attackers on this team. Between the normals and Vic, this team looks really strong against Phil's. I think this was a very big matchup advantage from the beginning. Because Lapras just dominates three of these. Haunter doesn't do that great in a Dodrio. Victory Bell obviously doesn't do great in a Haunter, but it does great into Slowbro, Dugtrio, Hypno. I think she had a lot of stuff to play with and just ultimately executed better. I think that Sleep Clause fail really screwed Phil over there, not remembering Sleep Clause, because he probably could have gotten out of there in better condition if not for that. Saved the Haunter, did some damage to this stuff. Like, all of this does not love fighting Haunter, especially when it has the boom option on Hypno. So I think Phil just made some execution mistakes and dropped the game. Happens to the best of us, and Mel gets a win. So let me know what you think. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, click the dopamine buttons. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.